and welcome to the next race review for the 2024 British Touring Car season. With me is my good friend Ben. Say hello.
Hello.
And today we're going to do the Donington Park GP, or Donington Park Grand Prix race review. So this past weekend was the bank holiday weekend here in England, and as a result we had some fairly interesting racing, helped a little bit by the weather over the weekend as we had a fair bit of rain, much like back in April, except this time the circuit wasn't a lake. Just a quick one or two things to quickly mention, obviously, before we start. As always, if you want to find any of our previous race reviews, you can find them in the playlist down below in the description of the video. Obviously, thank you very much, as always, for your continued support as we do these race reviews. And just to quickly mention as well, so these are the main 2 points that I want to cover before we get into qualifying for this race review. So we had Ronan Pearson dropping out of the season. He had a mutual agreement before this race, which to accelerate for the rest of the season. And Dan Zelos came in to take his spot for the weekend. We don't know if he's around for the last 2 weekends. At the moment, it's just this weekend in particular that he's been around, moving up from the minis. And obviously, with it being the final few rounds, it means that there's even more to play for now than every point counts, as all the championship contenders know. So, moving into qualifying. Group 1 saw eliminations of Halstead, Moffat, Watson and Sumpton. Group 2 saw eliminations of De Leon, Smiley, Rowbottom and Zelos. In Q2 we saw the shock eliminations of Hill and Camish, as well as Morgan, Chilton, Huff and Osborne. And once the Fast 6 got underway, it was Josh Cook who came out on top, with Colin Turkington and Mikey Doble rounding out the top 3. Josh Cook's pole time, a 1:33.498, with Turkington 71 thousandths of a second behind, and Doble a little over a tenth of a second behind, and Cook himself in third. So, moving into race 1, we saw a great start by Turkington to jump into an early lead, with Sutton jumping into third ahead of Doble. Further down the lap, we saw De Leon go off, with Ingram taking on Doble for fourth, only for him to be turned around by Doble, going into the final hairpin due to the two Vauxhalls fighting with each other. Rowbottom, meanwhile, was up to 7th after lap 1, making up 8 places on the first lap due to the drama that happened in front of him. Sutton got ahead of Cook due to Cook going wide as he slid through the bottom of the centre S's on lap 3. There was drama further back though, as Watson was out and the first safety car of the day came out. We found out that it was a 3-way scrap for position, and as a result Watson went flying. He went sliding across over where the chicane is, the bottom of the main straight, the back straight should I say, and ended up going near enough over. The car was lucky it didn't flip over the tyre wall, so pretty lucky, but he sustained some serious damage and had to retire on the spot as the car was dug into the gravel. Rowbottom was having a tough time as well, as he got a puncture and dropped down the order very quickly. Ingram's luck, when the safety car came on lap 7, we saw Sutton chasing Turkington down for the lead, with him looking over his shoulder. Cook and Hill were watching his every move. Ingram's luck came when Aaron Taylor-Smith had a huge slide, which allowed several cars, including Ingram, to get up into 7th place on lap 8. Ingram's charge continued when 6th place Morgan was his next victim. By lap 10 he got past the BMW. Lap 12 was when all eyes hit the front though, as Sutton got very close to Turkington. Just seconds later Cook went wide, which meant that Hill was able to get by for 3rd place. Ingram and Morgan both put a move on Huff on lap 13 to drop Huff down to 7th place. However, up at the front, no one could stop Turkington taking the first win of the day, with Sutton and Hill rounding out the podium. Dan Zelos on his debut race came home in 12th place and picked up a few crucial points, which is great going by him. So your race 1 results are as follows. Colin Turkington was your race winner, won with fastest lap. Sutton was 2nd with Hill 3rd, Cook 4th, Ingram 5th, Morgan 6th, Huff 7th, Camish 8th, Aaron Taylor-Smith in 9th, and Sam Osborne to round out the top 10. Over to you for race 2, Ben.
Yeah, so race 2 was wet, but it wasn't quite wet enough where wet tyres should be needed. The only person at the start, before they had the warm-up lap, on wets was Nick Halstead, and it seemed that it was sort of going the way of the dry should come into play once the track heats up. So just before lap 1, Halstead went into the pits to change tyres, which means he'll have to start from the pit lane. Turkington Hill, they got a really good start. And then all of a sudden, Cook, I think it was Morgan as well, had like contact, and then it sent into Camish. Camish got sent out onto the grass, and then all of a sudden he managed to get back on. He was very late back with everyone. Sutton then, not long after, he sent it past Turkington. He took him. It seemed Turkington's tyres were still a bit cold, and he was slightly slidey, but that was he kept the car together. So that seemed how Sutton got past him. Ingram started to have some fun side by side battle with Hill at this point, and then he managed to get past Hill at the start of lap 2. So on lap 3, Ingram at this point had now caught up to Turkington and Sutton, and it seemed that the tyres now started to warm up for everyone, so it seems we're all pushing a bit more, and you can see the track was drying out sort of around it as well. On to lap 4, Moffat comes into the pit lane, and his team tells him to let it cool off and to turn off the car so the turbos don't break from instantly turning them off. Lap 5, Ingram got passed by Turkington, and it seemed that there was he went for it just down into the GP loop using his boost on the hybrid, used it straight through, and then he managed to just carry on. This point on lap 7, it seems that Ingram is now trying to get past Sutton, and meanwhile it seems I noticed that Zealous is on his doing really well on his first weekend sort of going in, and he was battling in the middle of the pack with Chilton. He lost a few positions in the end, but it was quite good to see. He looked like he was doing some clean little battles there and there, so it looked really good. Lap 10, Ingram now starts going slower and slower. He loses position to Turkington and then to Hill, who also is slowly getting on him in bits. On lap 11, at this point Hill now did get past him quite easily. It seems that Cook is right on him as well. Then Ingram at this point then heads into the pits as his car has overheated. It seemed that when he tried to shoot it past early and he got past Turkington, he went into the back of Sutton, and if you can look back on it, I didn't know at the time because I thought it was just a bit of brake dust, but you could see a little splatter comes off the front right of his car, so it's probably like water, me and Brad think, or something like oil. So at that point I think he'd sort of done his car in, so he'll definitely need an engine race for race 3, which they'll need to get on immediately. And on the last lap, funnily enough, Ingram's new engine is already out of the back of the truck, and they're bringing it into the garage, and with the whole brake package and everything already on the car. At this point now it seems like Sutton basically just has the race. He goes for it, gets a nice win, which will help at this point in the season get a couple of extra wins, because he's not had many this season, but he's still been consistent enough to keep his place. So, at the end of the race, first you had Sutton, second with fastest lap again, funnily enough, Turkington, third Hill, fourth Cook, fifth Morgan, sixth Rowbottom, seventh Huff, eighth Taylor Smith, 9th Doble, 10th Osborne. Over to you for race 3, Brad.
Thanks, Ben. The race 3 saw Dan Camish get put on pole for this one, and it was Sam Osborne alongside him. When the race kicked off, we saw a good start by the two Napa cars up front. Things got very hectic very quickly, and just like in race 2, there was drama for the title contenders, but this time it was Sutton in trouble, as Chilton got alongside him and hit him, forcing them both off the road. Ingram, meanwhile, was a man on a mission as he was up to 11th by lap 3. Meanwhile, it was another catastrophe for Turkington as he got spun round and dropped down the order. Up at the front, it was cars galore as there were battles going on everywhere. Too many to name here, but it was action galore and really showed what the reverse grid could do. Ingram, meanwhile, was really pushing, and before long he was past Hill and up into 7th place by lap 5, which was fantastic stuff by Ingram. The two Vauxhalls took each other on for position on lap 5, with Aaron Taylor-Smith coming out on top. During all of the commotion, we saw Sutton managing to get back out on track, albeit 1 lap down. Eventually became 2 laps down, I believe. Lap 6 saw Smiley's car get a puncture and destroy some of the front bodywork, which brought out the safety car. When the safety car came in, we saw Cook get past Morgan, and then in came Ingram to demote Morgan down to 6th. Ingram then moved ahead of Cook, but then Morgan came back at Cook and hit him. Moffat, meanwhile, was out of the race as he came to blows with Watson into the chicane. With all this action, though, it brought out the safety car for the second time within space of a lap or two, but not only this, it also started to rain as well. When we got back underway, all eyes were on the front as Ingram was trying to get past Doble for 3rd place with Hill not far behind. By the time we got the final 2 laps, who knew what was possible for Ingram? Lap 16 saw the answer to that question as Ingram managed to get past Aaron Taylor-Smith for 2nd place. Turkington was also another one on the charge and was up to 7th place on the final lap, proving just how good he also is. Hill and the fielders all scrapped over position on the final lap, which also proved that this was going to be a great ending to this race. But despite what the weather threw at him, it was Dan Camish who scored his first win of the season, with Ingram coming in 2nd from the back of the grid, and Aaron Taylor-Smith scoring an overall podium in 3rd place. So your race 3 results are as follows. Dan Camish is your race winner with Tom Ingram in 2nd along with the fastest lap, Aaron Taylor-Smith in 3rd, Josh Cook 4th, Jake Hill 5th, Mikey Doble 6th, Turkington 7th, Morgan 8th, Darryl DeLeon in 9th, and Sam Osborne to round out the top 10. So what does it do to the drivers' standings? Well, surprise, surprise, Jake Hill is in the lead on 316 points. He's now 9 points ahead of Ingram. Sutton, despite his best efforts, and believe me, he probably felt the same way as I did, which was back to square one. 20 points behind the leader. He came in 20 points behind at the start of the weekend and ended up leaving 20 points behind the leader again. This time, though, it's 20 points behind Hill rather than Ingram, so I suppose he'll take that in a way. Turkington now not far behind in 4th, as per usual. Camish is in 5th, 3 points behind Turkington, still very close, and Cook in 6th on 262, and theoretically still in title contention. Then we have a big jump back to Aaron Taylor-Smith in 7th, at 1 point ahead of Huffy in 8th, Dan Rowbottom in 9th, 2 points ahead of Adam Morgan in 10th. So overall, Ben, who are your winners from the weekend?
I'd say Hill. Hill's definitely done well for where he's obviously still been first in the standings of the drivers. Turkington, because obviously his fastest laps and everything, he just seemed to sort of enjoy the track this weekend with the conditions. I'd say he did really well. And then after that, I'd say Ingram was good. He had problems here and there, but obviously he still went for it regardless of the problem that he had. And race 3 obviously showed he was just a man with a rocket behind him basically. So yeah, I'd say they were my favourites from the weekend who did really well.
I definitely couldn't agree with you about Ingram. I think despite what happened in race 2, he drove really well this weekend, and despite everything that had happened, I think it was a great fight back, and bounce back, and I think even Tim Harvey mentioned about how it was a champion's drive that we saw from Ingram. It was very, very good from him. Hill definitely is on my list as well, but I think 2 in particular, and this is going to kind of go off the base of drivers, but Max Racing I think did very well. They showed very strong pace in them Vauxhalls this weekend. Both Aaron Taylor-Smith and Mikey Doble really right up there. Doble being 3rd in qualifying, obviously, yeah, he had a bad race 1 because of hitting Ingram, but I think, to be honest, it's a case of they've still managed to score a massive chunk of points for that team, which is really good. And in a weird way, BMW in the manufacturers fight. So for those that don't know, the manufacturers fight is now 3 points separates Ford from BMW. So it's very, very close. It has been close all year. But BMW has really come on strong this over the last 3 or 4 meetings in particular. I'd say probably from Alton Park onwards, they've been quite a big force and seem like they're not stopping anytime soon. So Ford's really probably getting scared now, I'd imagine. You've got to bear in mind that Napa is the only Ford team on the grid, and BMW's got a split between Hill's MB Motorsport team and WSR. So I know that MB Motorsport is with WSR, but you get the idea. So I think a very strong manufacturer's fight as well to the very end. But in terms of overall pace, I think the wind is definitely in even though Ingram is second, he's 9 points behind Hill. I think the wind is definitely in Hill and Ingram's sails. Sutton, he's trying, and he is trying to get there. I think he's not quite getting there. Another win has definitely done his confidence good, I'm sure. But if he needs to, personally speaking, he needs to start winning. As stupid as that sounds, he'll probably need to start winning to overcome Hill and Ingram, or hope for Ingram to have another bad race or Hill to have another bad race. I mean, this is the Touring Car Championship. We don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, Turkington and Camish not being far behind. Same with Cook. They could easily jump into it if Sutton has a really bad weekend. And same with Hill and Ingram. I think it'll take a lot for Camish and Cook to catch them, but you just don't know.
Yeah,
overall.
I think it's an interesting one. The one thing I would say is, on the driver standings, 7th place, Aaron Taylor-Smith just shows that old car does have like a weirdly really good package like this year, like Power Max Racing. Like, I think we mentioned them at the end of last year, didn't we? They sort of started getting like a little groove together, and I really would love to see that keep going, because it's awesome to see. They are the plucky little underdog.
Yeah, I think the one thing we're missing now from this year is a win for Power Max Racing.
Yeah,
that's
that'd
what
be
we're missing.
awesome. Yeah,
I don't think I'd ever
Silverstone, come on.
Yeah,
come on, Aaron Taylor-Smith, win at Silverstone.
I mean, we did
Race
see
free.
Doble, didn't we? Doble did take a pole there last year, so
yeah, either of them two, that'd be awesome.
So we never know. But yeah, with Silverstone coming up next in a couple of weeks' time, it does beg the question. Like I said, because of the fact we're now literally down to 2 meetings, and it's all right. It's 6 races, but everyone's going to be throwing everything. It's like, this is the time now where you put your cards on the table and you go, right, let's bag them points. Obviously, Ingram's good at that. He's good at bagging points, but then Hill will be like, I want to extend my advantage. Sutton will be doing his
Hill
thing.
needs to keep it together. Every year he comes unstuck around this point.
Yeah. I think, to be fair,
he needs to just keep it together.
He did have either last year or the year before, he had the puncher at Silverstone, but I think that wasn't his fault. I think
that wasn't his fault,
just went wide on the curb, and the curb
if
cut
he
the
can
tyre.
keep it together and be reasonably consistent and obviously try and go for the wins, but not lose anything, it could be crazy what happens at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get a season finale like no other.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It could be like, instead of being like, oh, maybe it's 5, but really, no, it's not. This year, it could be definitely the top 3 of them going to Brands Hatch. But like you said, Sutton needs to do something at this point now.
Yeah, he's really in trouble if he doesn't do anything. Granted,
yeah, he's in a point where... Well, he's in a point where now, if he doesn't do something going into Brands Hatch, all it takes is for the other two to be reasonably consistent, and that's it for him. He's out anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I think, to be fair, I mean, the fact that he's got this far with 2 wins is pretty good. I know that Ingram has done really well and Hill's done really well. I think Hill's got 6 wins, hasn't he? He's got the most out of any driver.
I think there's people actually on the driver standings who've got more wins and stuff than him, but because he's been more consistent than them, don't matter.
Let's not forget, I think it was 2018, Turkington won the title with 1 win.
Yeah.
So it's like, you just don't know. I don't know. I mean, if Sutton manages to do it with 2 wins, it'll probably be, well, I think he'll probably class it as his best.
Well, it's the same as Rob Huff. He's got the same wins.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he had more wins than Sutton up until this weekend. And
exactly.
Matched him. But because of Sutton's consistency, he's managed to get it.
Yeah,
managed to get near 300. So, but
gonna be interesting.
That's it. It's a case of I think now all the drivers are basically, they're sat at the casino and they're like, which number do I put money on? What colour do I put money on? Do I put it on red or black? And the table will decide, aka the racing is going to decide what number comes up and what colour comes up. So place your bets, folks, because this season is far from over and this fight is far from over. It will go down to the wire. Oh, the last corner, the last lap. We know that it will. It seems like it will. And I've won for sure. I can't wait for Silverstone because we just don't know what we're going to get. And Brands is always a great finale. We just don't know what Silverstone's going to throw out yet. So you never know. You never know. Watch this space is what we'll say. But on that note, that has been it for myself and Ben. Thank you very much for watching. Apologies for the slightly overdue, slightly longer show today and a bit of a chat there. But yeah, what was your opinion on this weekend's racing? Did you enjoy it? Did you not like it? What did you think stood out for you more than anything else? And more crucially as well, who would you have down for the title after this weekend? Would you still have Jake Hill? Would you have Ingram or Sutton? Or maybe someone on the outside, like Turkington or Camish? Let us know down in the comments. As always, thank you very much for your continued support. We really do appreciate it. And until the next time, we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks' time when we return at Silverstone National Circuit. Until then, thanks for watching, and of course, as always, ta-ra!
Bye-bye.